The Disabled Crone, a Spoonie Authors Network podcast hosted by Kat Gordon. Special guest, Jameson Wolf, putting yourself first in publishing. Hi, I'm Kat Gordon, author, editor, and cupcake eater, and host of The Disabled Crone. Whenever I have a notion to try something brand new, I need my comfort person. He's always my first guest, and I'd really love to introduce to you Jameson Wolf. Jameson Wolf is an award-winning #1 best-selling author of over 60 books and writer of Two Steps at a Time, a blog about having multiple sclerosis and cerebral palsy. In 2019, he released his gripping memoir, Little Yellow Magnet, and his short story, The Descent, appears in the pre-Aurora Award-nominated Nothing Without Us anthology. His latest book, The Minotaur, is a dystopian fantasy starring a disabled protagonist, and it'll be published this year by Rebel Satori Press. Jameson is an accomplished artist who works in mixed media, charcoal, pastels, and oil paints. He currently lives in Ottawa, Ontario with his husband, Michael, and his cat, and Michael's cat, Anakin. Welcome, Jameson. Woo!
Thank you for having me. And you may hear Anakin in the background.
That's okay. And I realized today that my tongue might not always work, but you know what? This is a Spoonie Authors Network thing. We're allowed to be Spoonies.
Totally. I mean, I always say speak much, no, practice lots.
There you go. So we're going to talk about something that, has been on our minds a lot that I think is a really important topic to discuss, putting yourself first in publishing. And when I say publishing, I mean capital P for our audience, referring to the industry itself. I think it's an important topic to discuss because navigating publishing circles or publishers while maintaining your own integrity can sometimes feel like you could be an MVP goalie, blocking pucks.
Blocks and passes.
Blocks and passes. So what's the first thing that comes to mind for you, Jameson, when thinking about putting yourself first as an author today? Like, when is it okay to take care of you and your needs?
Well, I mean, I think back to when I, was a, fresh author trying to write, then desperately trying to get published, with anybody who would take me. I felt like a cheap bluesy, but that's okay. But it's like me. But no, and then I got so caught up in, getting published. That was it. That was all. And I was with one publisher at the time, and they were taken over by new management.
Right.
Which is fine, and that happens in the industry. But then they demanded a lot more things, a lot more. Their procedures were a lot more difficult. Submitting stuff to them became, very unfriendly. So I ended up, they ended up actually letting my books go. And I was totally okay with that. At first, it was a disappointment. But in the end, I realized it was actually a gift because rather than continue to be in the rat race, I was able to put books out on my own. So they still had life.
Yeah, exactly. So it's interesting because in this case, you would think that, or at least I thought you were going to say that you're really upset, but you weren't upset. It led to something else for you.
Well, I was disappointed.
Right.
But they didn't promote me. They didn't, there was no promotion, and I was doing all the work. And, but I was disappointed, but, and I was hurt. I felt like they didn't want my words, so therefore they didn't want me.
Yeah.
But in the end, I realized it was only a money thing for them. Money. And I wasn't making enough for them. But it was, I guess, a fault on their side, my side, whichever. I'm not going to lay blame, but in the end, it led me to self-publishing. And that's a great thing.
It is a great thing. And it's great because it leads into my next question, because I wanted to talk about how you are a hybrid author. And that doesn't mean you're a car that's good for the environment. If you were a car, you would be good for the environment, though,
yes,
Jameson. Let's
be.
just face it.
I'd be sparkly.
A sparkly, good for the environment car. For our audience who might not know what a hybrid author is, it refers to a writer who's both been published by a publisher, and indie publishes their own work. So, what are moments for you within these two ways of being published that stand out for you in when you had to put yourself first?
I think with self-publishing, I'll start there.
Yeah,
I was just I got so caught up in having like the most things published every year. Every publication was another notch in my cap, and it got to the point where I was just putting stuff out for the sake of publishing it.
yeah,
Um, and it was that, kind of like, look at me, look how well I'm doing. And I was pushing through so much. Like I live with multiple sclerosis and cerebral palsy. And so those are limitations and boundaries that I should be paying attention to. I wasn't, as stubborn as I am. That's okay. I'm okay with that. But I think finally, last year actually was a real turning point for me. I didn't have any books put out this last year at all. No self-published books, no books with publishers. I could have. That was just it. I could have put a book out just because.
yeah,
But I chose not to because for me, it's all about finding balance. And self-publishing on its own should be an absolute joy, right? I know my words are good enough to be out there. I know they're good enough to be read. People enjoy them. And uh, People like them. People like what I write, but there's no point in sacrificing my health for the sake of writing, or for the sake of publishing. So that was self-publishing. I realized, should be a joy, should be bliss, should be enjoyable. And shouldn't be just fobbing my words out into the world. It should have meaning. It shouldn't be anything else but.
yeah. And I love that. Like, I am going to be self-publishing this year through an imprint with my emotional support, Bruce.
Yeah.
And I keep calling it my playground. I want to play in my playground for a
Yeah.
while.
It should be fun.
Yeah.
Self-publish, like, I got to work on, like, I'm thinking of self-publishing something, and but I got to work on the cover. I got to work on the editing. I got to, well, and or send it out to editors. I get to have fun. It should be fun.
Yeah.
Self-publishing should be a joy. It is a lot of work. I won't lie. Especially the layout and all that kind of stuff. But it should be fun. It should be enjoyable. Well, maybe not the formatting, but whatever.
Yeah.
You know. But yeah, it's
The
playtime.
formatting. Yeah. I
Ugh.
mean, there's all those. I mean, when you self-publish, you have to do pretty much everything. You wear all the hats.
Yeah.
And so again, bringing it back to being spoonies, being disabled folks, um, pacing and remembering that we have to be kind to our bodies during this process too, during our own um, project management of our self-publishing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, we have to. I mean, my husband's always telling me, I do 10 times more than anyone else that doesn't have a disability. And I have two of them. And I'm neurodivergent and all that fun stuff. And there's Anakin. But he's like, you don't have to do everything. But I had to get over the idea that I had to do everything.
Yeah.
Everywhere all at once to quote a good movie. But
Yeah. Yeah. Good movie. So you're mentioning that on the self-publishing side or the indie publishing side, and what about a moment that stands out for you? Well, you already mentioned about a first publisher that dropped you.
yeah.
Are there any other anecdotes that you can share about when you thought, maybe it's time to choose me when you're with a
Um,
publisher?
Well, it was recently, and it was with one publisher, and they had my book was supposed to be in edits. I waited months and months and months, and it was like anxiety ridden at that point.
Hmm.
Um, and I thought, well, what's taking so long? But then I got back, not just a normal line edit, but like a huge, massive, massive structural edit, where I'm, changing chapters and adding text and writing more to the story. And it was too much. It was like, I work full time. I
Yeah.
write, I write as much as I can. I paint. Um, and in terms of choosing balance, it was like they gave me 2 weeks to do a structural edit. And that was a lot of work. That was I couldn't do it. And so I just said, nope, I had to choose myself. I said I put my feet in the ground and I stopped.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And I, ultimately walked away from the publisher. But I did that for myself because any publisher that expects you to get a structural edit back within 2 weeks is, yeah, uh, fooling themselves. But I chose myself. That's the important thing. And you have to always choose yourself.
You do. And it's funny. I remember years ago telling people that choosing to stop is not quitting.
No,
A lot of times we push through, push through, push through, oh, I'm not a quitter, I'm not a quitter. But sometimes stopping is actually an act of self-care.
well, it's
I
an
mean,
act of
if you want to
self-love.
say it's quitting, I'm quitting a situation that isn't helping me
Well,
thrive.
I was with that structural edit, like I was losing sleep, I was fretting over it, it was affecting my work life, and my home life because I was becoming, ask Michael, becoming very, how shall I put this, very delicate. But
Yeah.
yeah, and so it was like enough. I mean, we're already battling health issues, and I don't want to have my writing, which should bring joy, affect my health.
And let's talk about that just for a second, because you and I were both going through things where writing stopped feeling like a joy.
Yeah,
And for both of us, because we've been friends for a long time,
yeah,
writing has been a great source of joy for us. So
yeah,
when we get to the point where we feel like I don't even want to write anymore, I don't, because we've been weighed down,
yeah.
right? That speaks a lot. You want to talk about getting back to joy and why it's so important?
Well, for me, it comes around in a weird sort of way. I'm working on something now that brings me joy. And,
Yay.
yeah, and it took a while. Like I was writing poetry and not writing novels, or I was flip-flopping on what I was writing. It was like I'm writing this, because I couldn't find. It's like I couldn't find my place. I couldn't find my joy. I couldn't find. It wasn't. I was writing for the sake of just writing, not for the sake of joy.
Yeah.
And part of my finding balance is really embracing the joy in everything I can, whether it be painting or writing or whatever. I realize, of course, that not everything is joy all the time. It can't be, because that'd be unrealistic. But the creative exploits I do, or endeavors is a better word, should bring joy. So. I usually wait for the first line in a story to pop up. But I had an idea that just sort of clicked, and I've been wanting to write a memoir, and it or write for the joy of writing. I've been wanting to write a second memoir for a long time,
Right.
and, and I've been also wanting to write a tarot guidebook for a long time. Because I'm a tarot reader, and then the idea just clicked in my head. It was like, oh, I can write this. I can write this. And so I'm writing a memoir of my time on the streets based around a tarot deck.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, but that's bringing me joy. It's kind of
Yeah.
weird that delving into a difficult past is bringing me so much joy. But I'm keeping the chapters short. I'm keeping every chapter is a tarot card, but that brings me joy. I'm writing about like tarot, which is awesome, and that brings me happiness. And what I survived, and that also brings me joy. So for me, that's my joy right now.
You know, I think too, there is, when you release yourself from constant stress, then you open up so much avenue, and, or as I like to say, real estate in your mind for joy,
Well,
right?
you realize how much all that other crap, how much room that's taking up.
Yeah.
And I mean, you're like me, you carry a lot, and your head is a big place, and you've planted seeds and plants in your mind garden for years. Well, some of those plants need to be trimmed, and for myself, like I have to go through, and it's like, okay, I don't need that. I don't need to hold on to this. But that takes time. That takes an effort sometimes because you have to be introspective.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I love gardening.
Yeah.
So I love that analogy. Like as you're doing, I'm like, Yeah, that's true. Like you have to also get rid of the weeds. You
Yep.
got to make space between the plants so the plants could thrive. And
Yeah.
and if all those things are thoughts and stresses and stuff. To me, the stresses are the weeds. Like the unnecessary stresses are the weeds.
Back in the day, Mr. Rogers, I was watching him and PBS back in the day when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And he said, we have to be careful what we plant in the garden of our mind. Uh,
Hmm.
and that struck with me, or stuck with me, yeah, and struck me. And it's like I didn't really get it at the time because I was like 6 or 7. But eventually, it's like the thoughts we have are like the seeds, right? And so what we plant comes to life, comes to fruition. And we have to be careful. Like we have to go through that garden and, and weed and take out the crap, and take out the plants that are, trying to eat the other ones, whichever. But yeah, it's a really great analogy.
No, it's very good. And I think a lot of times people are afraid of making a move, especially when they're with a publisher, because it's not easy to find a publisher. So I'm sure there are people out there who would be hesitant to leave, but you left a situation that wasn't working for you.
No, it
And
wasn't.
then next thing you knew, something that you didn't expect happened.
Yeah, like
And
minute.
yeah, could you
I was
talk
gonna.
to us about the Minotaur and that
Oh, sure.
journey?
Well, the Minotaur, I was planning on self-publishing it because I'd submitted to what, 3 or 4 publishers, and heard back. Well, one publisher was very negative about the book and about the idea, so it was like, okay, fine. But then silence from one, and then rejection from another, and it was like, okay, screw it. I know the book's good. It's like totally different than anything I've written, so I'm going to self-publish it. But then, lo and behold, so I'm getting blurbs for the book. I'm working on the cover ideas, and then I get this email from Rebel Satori Press, and they were like, "Oh, I've just been through reading Minotaur, and I think it'd be great for our press. Is it still available?"
Isn't that
Uh,
something?
Please. And I was like, what the actual, what? I'm like, and so I had submitted, and oh, that's another tip for people listening or watching. Publishers take a long time to get back to you.
Hmm.
So I had emailed them a copy of the book like 7 months ago. Like,
Okay.
so it was beyond the 3 month mark, So usually I give them 3 months to read a book, but yeah, so it was well beyond. It was 7 months ago. So I figured, oh, well, they're passing on it, so I'll self-publish it. But yeah, and they said, is it still available? And I sat there and thought for a minute, do I continue with self-publishing and tell them no, it's not available,
Yeah.
or do I, publish with this press? And they're a really great press. They have
They are.
yeah, they're GLBTQ focused, and they publish wonderful books. And about a few of my favorite authors are published by them. So I thought, well, screw it, why not? And then too, I thought in terms of balance, like for my health, like I'm going through a health, not a crisis, a health issue right now, and I thought, do I have enough energy to self-publish? You know,
Yes, because it does. That also takes a lot of energy.
Yeah, and do I have energy to do a cover? And I don't right now. I mean, I
Right.
will maybe in time, but no. So I thought, what a perfect situation. I got a book published, a book that I love, published by a press that I love, um, and I well don't have to stress about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I wish you like all the happy experiences with getting the Minotaur out. Folks, I was one of the people reading the book to blurb it, and I got to tell you, the way it ends, just get it when it comes out because of the way it ends. It's a heck of a book, and I love Jameson's imagination.
And
Um,
the strange thing is that actually was the original idea. And so the original idea worked. Normally, like when I'm writing, I'm like, oh, so that plot is out the window. Uh,
oh,
yeah, so the original idea stuck.
that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay, so you know what? We're doing these podcasts a little shorter in time because sometimes we don't have a lot of spoons to watch and listen. So I want to kind of start winding down. One of the first things I want to make sure we get across is What advice would you give to authors out there who might be on the fence as to should they put themselves first or not? Should they make the steps to leave a situation they're in? If someone came to you to ask, what would you tell them?
Well, I ask them what they feel like doing. Honestly,
Mm.
what is their intuition saying? And if they're asking the question, that's a pretty good sign to me that, they should probably self-publish, or step away from a publisher. Or I've even stepped away from an agent who wasn't doing anything.
Oh, interesting. I
Yeah.
didn't know that.
Well, yeah, years and years ago, I had an agent, but she was shopping my book around, but didn't shop around enough. And then I got a deal with a publisher, and she was going to take a piece of that, and it's like, well, no, that was my work, So yeah, so step away from situations where people are trying to take advantage, and use your gut. Like if you're not happy, if you're not getting joy from the situation, choose yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, like when we say things like not getting joy for a situation, we're not talking about like when things go wrong here and there and blah, blah, and you just kind of course correct. We're
Yeah,
talking about if you're constantly feeling to the so weighed down that you're losing your joy for your craft.
yeah. If it's stopping you from writing,
Yeah.
then step away, so you can keep the joy.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
it's not going to be joy all the time. Like, I realize that when you're writing, you get angry because the characters aren't doing what you want them to do, or they're doing their own thing. That's okay. That's normal. But then, yeah, if the actual act of working with a publisher doesn't bring you joy, that's a problem.
Yeah. And things are never as gloomy as you might think they would be if you walk away from the situation. You'd be surprised how other opportunities might open up, right?
Yeah, like Point in Case, Rebel Story Press. Yay.
Yeah, good for you.
Yeah.
Okay, so you know what? I just want to make sure that everybody knows where they can learn more about you, Jameson. And
Sure.
before you even say that, you let's just recap. So you have the Minotaur coming out. I think it's this year, right?
In September. So,
Yeah,
yep.
in September. Okay. And you're working on a second memoir.
Yes, second memoir. Yep.
Yeah.
I
And are there any other works in progress that are coming?
potentially, but those have to stay secret.
Okay, those are secret things. So then where can folks find out about everything Jameson? How can they connect with you?
Well, for sure, jamesonwolf.com. That's my website, my blog, and it has links to Two Steps at a Time, my cerebral palsy and MS blog, as and other and links to my Spirit of the Wolf blog, which is for my tarot reading, and I'm also on Blue Sky.
So I just want to thank you so much for being here today, Jameson, helping me through this. I haven't podcasted in a long time,
You're
so
welcome. You're fabulous. You know it. Come on.
oh my. Well, I surround myself with fabulous people and I think it just wears
Um,
off.
we balance each other out. That's okay.
Okay, so thank you so much for joining us today, folks, and stay tuned for episode 2. We hope you enjoyed this episode of The Disabled Crone. To learn more about the Spoonie Authors Network, visit our website and follow us on Blue Sky. And many thanks to Bruce Gordon for composing our theme tune.